Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Core Class Ratchet. And this is Ratchet as we saw him in that 1986 movie. And I gotta tell you, this is a fun little figure. Man, oh man, is he a good time. So let's go ahead and take a look at that packaging. And we'll start right up there at the top with that awesome artwork. Looks really cool. Studio Series, Transformers the movie. There's your big gaping hole. And you got a little preview in there of that backdrop. Transformers the movie, Autobot Ratchet. Over here, got some artwork. On the back, you got those product shots. You've got all your information. You've got all your warnings. And your sad baby. And the baby's sad because he remembers what happened to Ratchet on the Ark in the movie. Sad, sad day. Alright, and over here on the side you have a close-up of that face. He is a core class. Down there at the bottom you've got some more information if you feel like reading it. And that is it for your packaging. So what we'll do now is we'll get this packaging out of the way and we'll take a look at everything that came inside that box. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came inside that box. And we'll start with a little sheet of warnings, yay for warnings. And then you have your sheet of instructions, also yay for instructions. So that leaves you with the two items that we see over here on the right. And these are his pistols. So other than being mirror images of each other, they are exactly the same thing. So we'll just focus on one here and take a look. So you've got that little white pig down here at the bottom that goes into his hand. That's where I'll be holding it so I don't take away from the details. And for being a small gun, these are done very well. I like the silver paint. It's done well. No real flaws in that paint whatsoever. And no hollow areas to speak of other than right here underneath this little tab, and you'll use this tab in the vehicle mode. But man, these look good. They look good. And technically speaking, they are not Blast Effects compatible, but you can use them with Blast Effects, and we'll show that here shortly. But yeah, these are good looking little guns. So you get two of those, which is twice as many accessories as I thought I was going to get with a Core Class Ratchet. Alright, so that's it for everything that came inside the box, except for if you want to count this. This is just the, if you want to count it as a backdrop, this is just kind of that background stuff that was in the box. And it is the bridge of the Ark. And this is where Ratchet met his fate. So, you know, if it didn't have so many holes in it, just where it was holding the figure in, it probably would have looked a lot better. But you could probably still use this in some fashion. Somebody who's more creative than me. So there you go. Alright, so that does it for everything that came inside the box except for the figure itself. So let's go ahead and bring Ratchet in and we'll take a look at his details. Here he is, the robot doctor with the best bedside manner in the galaxy. This is the Core Class Autobot Ratchet. So let's go ahead and bring him in and take a look at this guy. And I gotta tell you, for a little figure, man, they have done such a wonderful job here. Starting with that head sculpt, look at that. Man, that looks good. Seriously, for a core class figure, this thing looks great. And you've got his big old chest windshield there, and we'll see these in vehicle mode too. But you know, about the only thing missing here is some paint. Would have been nice if they would have decked these windshield wipers out in some paint. And coming on down to the crotch, all that looks pretty good. Nothing incredibly amazing, but it looks good. Coming down to those legs, he does have big old chunky legs. He didn't miss leg day, so that's good. Looking on the inside, no hollow areas to speak of. So you do have up here in that thigh area, you've got a little bit of one, but really it's pretty well hidden. And then down on the bottom, there's the bottom of those feet. Coming up the side, move this arm out of the way. So you do have these panels that fold in. I'm not going to count these as hollow areas because the entire point is for them to cover all this up, and those just slide in right there. So I don't have an issue with that at all, especially for a core class. Then you got both of those functioning wheels coming up the side. He's not really hollow anywhere. I mean, you can see through him right here just above that bumper. But really not bad. Not for a core class, not bad at all. Up underneath, same deal as the legs. You got a little bit of a square there, a hollow area for underneath the arm. But really not bad. The arms themselves, nice Autobot medic logo right there. A little bit of sculpted in detail. Got those big old red hands, so he is caught red-handed. And coming around to the back. Yeah, why not? He looks okay. for a core class figure, heck, even for a deluxe class at this point, he would look pretty darn good. So I have no issues with this whatsoever. He's just a good looking robot. This works. I like it. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about articulation here for a minute. And he's good in places, not so good in others, but I think for the most part the articulation is really well done on this figure. So starting with the head up here, you do get a little bit of movement, not a lot. So I mean, you're going to get a little bit. You can get a little bit of up and down and a little bit of side to side, and you can take it all the way around if you want. Oh, don't worry about that hollow area. Nobody's ever going to see it. They're really not, because that's in the way. And then coming down here to these shoulders. Now these shoulders, awesome, awesome, awesome what they've done here. I'm not the biggest fan of using ball joints for anything, but if you're going to use it, use them like this. So first thing we're going to talk about is the fact that he does have, it's a backwards butterfly, but he does have a butterfly right there that you can utilize. And it totally works to give him different, like he's winding up for a punch, wham, one of those things. So it totally works. So you do have that range of motion right there. Now, as far as bringing this arm up, it's on a separate ball joint. So you can bring the arm up that far, and you still haven't utilized this ball joint under here. So you still have that ball joint where you can take that all the way around. So all the way up, all the way around, really, really well done. You get over 90 at that elbow, and then you do have rotation at that bicep. So you can take that all the way around if you want to as well. Now, coming on down to the waist, you do have waist rotation, which is really cool. The one caveat on this that I would say is you do have just the tiniest bit of interference here with that little white lip that hangs over. So what you're going to need to do if you want to use that waist rotation is you just need to lift this up out of the way just a tick, and then you can clear that waist and you can go all the way around. So, oh yeah, look at that, he's punching somebody. Ooh, ah. So yeah, very violent medic. I thought they were pacifists. Oh well. So yeah, waist rotation. And then coming down to the hips, you can get a nice full split out of him. Not quite a Van Damme, but a nice full split. And then kicking forward, he will kick forward that far. Kicking backward, he will kick backward that far before he starts running into his own bumper. And then coming down to the knee. Now this is where he does have a little bit of a limitation here. It's a disappointing amount of knee bend, so you're only going to go that far. So maybe 45 degrees. I guess if you really wanted to, you could open this up and then you could get a deeper knee bend, but at that point, really what are you doing to him? So by design, he hits right there, and that's all you're going to get. He does, however, have that ball joint at the knee, so that allows you knee rotation. So you can take that around. Oh, and then he has the ball joint at the hip as well, so you can rotate outward that much. You can rotate inward that much. So you do have that hip rotation, and then you have knee rotation if I stop opening him up right there. Nothing at all at the feet. So everything you're going to want to do, you're going to want to do at the knees to compensate for that. But his feet, they are big old stable feet. So you're not going to really get, a lot of poses that he's not going to be able to hold. So he can even hold something like that for you if you want. All right, so now that we've got the details and the articulation out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the accessories. No sense doing a separate segment for that since we already took a look at those guns. There's really only a few things that you're going to do with those. So you do have, of course, your big white pegs, and you've got the big hand ports. So I don't think anybody's surprised here to see that you can do that, right? You do also, however, have some ports on his forearms. So they're not the deepest things, but, you can squeeze those guns on if you want to have some of that forearm action going on, so that way you've got his hands free for other things. So it's totally up to you, whatever you want to do there. Now, he does also have the ability, now it's not, again, I don't think it's by design, it may just be a fluke, but he does have the ability to use blast effects. So what's interesting about this is if you try to put the blast effect just on the tip here, there's all kinds of play. However, if you put it on there a little bit further, you've got this little secondary barrel area right there at the very edge. And once you slide it over that, you've got some interference there. You've got a little bit of resistance, so he's not going to drop that. Not at all. And you can just have yourself a grand old time with a blast effect. So not something I was expecting to see in a Studio Series Core Class was blast effect compatibility, but there we have it. So yay, really cool. All right, so now that we've got that all out of the way, what we'll do is we'll get him transformed into his ambulance mode, and we'll take a look at him from there. So here we have Ratchet in his alt mode, and I gotta say, for a core class, this turned out looking pretty good. It's a little panely here and there, and you do have a few open areas, but really, for the price point, for what you get for this guy, I think they've done an absolutely fine job here. He looks good from every angle. He does have those mushroom pegs for the wheels, but again, at this price point, I can completely forgive that. So as you can see, on the vehicle mode, you do have weapon storage for both of his guns. You don't have to use that, of course. So if you just want the ambulance of peace, then you can take those off. But if you want the ambulance of war, then you can leave those on, and then I guess he's ready to go hurt some bots and then try to repair them. So he could have used a little bit of paint in a few other areas, particularly in this mode. So on that back area, it would have been nice if they would have had, you know, the paint for the glass for the back window like they did for the front, and maybe some tail lights, maybe even something on the side to kind of break up all that white monotony right there. If they wanted to paint these windows or put some kind of a stripe down the side, something like that, that would have helped. But you know, it's not the worst thing. At least you have the items molded in, so you do have a little windshield wiper molded in back there, and then a little license plate bracket. So if you want to do some painting yourself, I guess you do have that ability. But yeah, so there he is in his alt mode. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it here. I mean, you do get to see most of the details here. Now I will show you the top, so that's kind of cool. Looks pretty good there, and nice and even. Here's the bottom. So not a lot of obvious robot kibble. And like I said, if you do want to take those guns off, you can just take them off, and then you've got that nice ambulance of peace look, if you will. All right, so yeah, there you go. That is it for the alt mode. No sense spending a lot of time on it. He does look good. Just plug that right back in and send him off. So now that we've got that out of the way, we'll go ahead and we'll jump into the comparisons, and we'll see how he looks against some other figures out there. For our first alt mode comparison, unfortunately, I do not have a G1 Ratchet, so I'm going to use my G1 Constructicon Scrapper here as a substitute, just to give you a sense of scale. So you can see he's a little bit smaller than the G1 Constructicons. Moving on to our next comparison, this is Ratchet as we saw him in that Transformers Prime animated series. Representing the Studio Series line, this is Ratchet as we saw him in that 2018 Bumblebee movie. In the event that Ratchet ever turned out to be an evil doctor, then this would be the figure you would need. This is the War for Cybertron Earthrise Ratchet mold, but in those shattered glass colors. And for our final alt mode comparison, on the left, of course, is that new guy, the Core Class Ratchet. On the right is the Masterpiece MP Ratchet. Now, this is my knockoff copy, but it's the exact same thing as the original figure. So to give you a sense of scale there you go. Alright, that'll do it for the alt mode comparisons. Let's go ahead and get Ratchet transformed back into his bot mode. We'll do some comparisons there. For our first robot mode comparison, since I don't have a G1 Ratchet in my collection, the Constructicon Scrapper has graciously volunteered to be our representative. So there you can see that Core Class Ratchet next to a G1 Constructicon. Moving on to our next comparison, this is Ratchet as we saw him in that Transformers Prime animated series, and to this day he is still one of my favorite Ratchets. Next up is Studio Series Ratchet as we saw him from that 2018 Bumblebee movie. Just to throw in a little splash of evil, this is the Shattered Glass Ratchet in the War for Cybertron Earthrise Ratchet mold. Moving on to our next comparison, this is the Masterpiece Ratchet. It is technically a knockoff, but it's the exact same as the original Hasbro Masterpiece. So you can get an idea of the scale there between a core class and an MP scale. And just because why not, we'll have a little bit of fun here with the Michael Bay Ratchet designs. So this is the Ratchet figure that came out for the premiere of that 2007 Transformers movie. And for our final bot mode comparison, this is the Masterpiece movie series Ratchet, so you can see how those two guys look together. All right, comparisons are all done, so let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. All right, so Core Class Ratchet. Man, what a cool little figure. I'm more impressed with him than I thought I was going to be when I picked him up. This is definitely a formula that Hasbro needs to copy and paste. Almost everything about this guy is great, and he is just a fun little pocket-sized figure that I absolutely love to play with. Let's go ahead and dig into it a little bit and take a look at those numbers, and we'll start with the aesthetics, the overall look of the figure. He looks good in both modes. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to be looking at this through the lens, through the prism of a core class figure at that core class price point. So, yes, are there things that you could pick on from a look standpoint for this figure? Absolutely. But for the price, for the size, for a mainline figure, they've really hit on something good here. He looks cool in his robot mode. He looks good in his ambulance mode. The ambulance mode actually looks proportionate, so it looks right. I don't know any other way to say it. The worst that I could say really is in the bot mode, he's got some chunky legs. You know, he did not miss leg day, that's for sure. And he could have used a little bit more paint in his alt mode, but he looks good everywhere else. And surprisingly, for a core class figure, for the level of complexity of the transformation, although I use the term complexity, you know, a little generously there, but for a core class, there are a few more steps than what is typical. But for a core class, he's not really riddled with hollow areas. I don't count these as hollow areas because you actually have the panels that are covering that up. Really, the only hollow areas that he has is just those areas under his arms, and that's not bad at all. I mean, he's just a solid, fun, good-looking robot with very few hollow areas, especially for his price point. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 on the aesthetics here. Moving on to the articulation. Again, for a core class figure at this price point, at this size, he's done pretty well as far as articulation goes. I can't say enough good things about those arms. Just having those additional joints, with the way that they've configured those shoulders, you can do all kinds of cool stuff with those arms, and you're definitely not going to be lacking there. He does have a limited knee bend, so you know you are going to be working against that limited knee bend. He's not even close to 90 degrees. He's probably closer to 45 degrees on that, so that is going to hurt a little bit. He does, however, have the knee rotation, so you can get those legs turned and twisted the ways that you need, but unfortunately he has nothing at those feet. Thankfully, because of those big chunky lower legs, he's got big chunky feet that really help out with the stability. So you're still going to be able to get this guy posed, but he's not going to be able to put his feet flat on the ground. So overall, though, articulation for this figure, for its size, for the price, is very well done. I'm going to give him an 8 out of 10. Now, moving on to the accessories. Not a lot to say here, except for the fact that this is a core class figure, and you get more accessories with him than I've seen lately with some Legacy, Deluxe, and Voyager class. So kudos to the fact that you get two guns with him. And even though they're not technically blast effect compatible, I don't believe, they still fit snugly on the ends of those guns. And he looks absolutely wonderful going two guns blazing like he is right now. So I think for the accessories, for again, this price point, this size figure, I think they're done pretty well. I'm giving him an 8 out of 10. Taking us to our next one, which is quality. I have no quality issues with this guy. Every joint is nice and tight. There are no paint issues unless you really want to get picky and talk about a little bit of that bleed over on the siren on the top of the vehicle mode. There's just a very little bit of bleed over there, but everything else looks really good as far as paint. I don't have any molding issues, no sculpt work defects, nothing like that. He came with both accessories that he was supposed to come with, so yeah, I have nothing to complain about, but I am going to pick on them a little bit. And it's just the common refrain that I've used before. This guy's got ball joints everywhere. Now, as it stands today, all of his joints are tight. I have no complaints, but we all know that the more you play with a figure that has ball joints, the more wear you're going to get in those and the looser they're going to get over time. But for now, they're good. So I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10 for quality, just bearing in mind that those ball joints aren't going to last forever. All right, so for our last bullet, overall value, I got to tell you, I don't think it gets much better than this. This is one of my favorite core class figures, no doubt about it. Even if he wasn't at an incredibly good price point, which he is, he's still, I think, packed with more engineering and playability than some of the other core class figures that we've seen. I picked this guy up at a local Target for $9 US. That's right, you heard me correctly, $9. So with the price of Transformers going up right now, and frankly me being appalled at the price of deluxe class figures, the fact that you can get this for under $10 US is really impressive to me, and I'm very, very happy about that. So I'm going to give him a value of 9 out of 10 for that overall value bullet, if you will. So this guy's just very well done. Every facet of him, he's very well done. So that brings us to a grand total out of a possible 50 points. The Core Class Ratchet gets 43 out of 50, which puts him at 86%. Makes this a super easy recommendation from me. I would absolutely encourage you, if you find him, pick him up. He's a blast. He's so much fun. He's fun to carry around, fun to play with. Looks good in both of his modes. Just an overall very good design. He's fun to transform, and he just works. He is a fun little figure. So with that, that's going to wrap the review up. I hope you guys got some good information. I hope you got some entertainment out of this at the very least. And if you haven't already done so, please be sure to hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe. And feel free to leave some comments below. Let me know what you think about this guy or anything else going on in Transformers world. So until we see you guys in the next one, take care.